Good morning and happy Tuesday to you. Welcome in to the Real Monica Adams Show on the hottest day of the year. Whew. Okay, as much as you can stay inside, please do so. We're going to talk about all of those that are out there working for us, our first responders. Think of our police, our firefighters, those roofers, anybody that has to work outside. Please make sure that they have more water than they've ever had before, because today, from a temperature standpoint and a heat indice standpoint, I cannot believe how hot it's going to be. And we're going to follow that coming up in the news right after we talk about, obviously, the weather will top our stories today. We've got the news you can use. We've got some sports news. And what an exciting night it was in hockey and in baseball. And then what a powerful hour it is going to be. We're going to have three different guests. Our first half hour has to do with the resilience of a mother. In fact, we've got the book on set. It is Out of the Gray, okay? And how do you get into the light when you feel like there's a dark cloud forever following you, a thunderstorm cloud that is never letting up? The resilience that this woman has is unlike anything I've ever seen. I read the entire book last night. I would not go to sleep until I read every last page. And this is a book that you're going to want to have. And there's a podcast that she does that you're going to want to follow. Amy Post, my first guest. Our second part will be with Susan Colangelo and Branden Lewis. Have you ever heard of St. Louis Story Stitchers? I had not. I want to thank one of my contacts, Marla. Thank you, Marla Ballinger, for turning me on to this incredible organization, getting our youth off the streets and giving them an opportunity to hone in on their artistic talents, whether it's music, creating music, maybe they're singing, maybe they're breakdancing, maybe they're doing their graffiti. Getting them off the streets and away from the violence that we always reported on in the news is what makes my heart so very happy. St. Louis Story Stitchers and how you can get involved in them. Those are our guests for the hour. Before we get into the news, I just want to say something personally from our team. A lot of you were writing me last night, or Michelle was writing me, dear friends were writing me, asking me if I had sent them something saying that they had won. Never, ever, ever would we ask for your credit card information. I'm not asking you to click on links, by the way. I would hope that we could try to start teaching people what a scam looks like, what a spammer looks like, what happens when an account has been hacked. So there was some kind of a contest thing that had taken over a little bit of what looked like my name and my picture. It is not real. In fact, I was able to get rid of it all. But anything in the future that looks like that and you question it, go ahead and reach out to us. info@TheRealMonicaAdams.com. Let me reassure you that nope, that's not me. Don't click on it and we'll get it in there and we will report them, which we did. So I'm sorry for any of you that may have clicked on that link. But again, if you see just a ton of words and a bunch of different symbols, it just looks trust your gut instinct, by the way. You're going to hear that a lot today in the show. Trust your gut that, no, it's not Monica. Monica wouldn't ask us to click on this link. And no, I'll let you know when I'm giving you something fun to give away, but I won't be having you clicking on links to do that. If you're clicking on a link, it's my own, which is TheRealMonicaAdams.com. So I apologize for any of you that were taken in by that person who was trying to spam the Real Monica Adams team. All right, let's get into the news that you can use. We start off with this oppressive heat today and tonight. The heat advisory from noon to 8. The heat indices now. Matt Chambers is saying 105. I was listening to KMOX. Their meteorologist saying maybe 107. 20% chance of strong afternoon storms. So there's a great chance, 80%, that none of you will even see anything like this. But 20% chance of those of you that will. Overnight and into early tomorrow morning, out of here by about 6 a.m. in time for the morning rush. Storms likely but possibly severe. So the intense heat, the humidity, all mixed together. Now, according to KMOV, they're saying today's high is going to be 100. I heard the meteorologist on CBS with KMOX radio saying maybe 103. So we'll find out by tomorrow. But there you go. Extremely hot, the hottest day of the year, down into the mid 70s. And then you just look at the rest of the 7-day forecast, upper 80s. So it's going to start to cool down a little bit as those storms move out for Wednesday. Thursday, lower humidity, slight chance of rain and storms moving in on Friday as we start to creep back up into the low 90s. Sunday, 87, and then Monday, 90. And those are the two dry days. But we cannot get our eyes off of the red on that day today. 100 to maybe 103 in an actual temperature with heat indices, again, possibly moving up to 107. Having said that, it's one thing to be a firefighter and battling blazes, but then you've got the blazes with the heat. And so please watch those first responders. If you see them, maybe bring them some more water. Crews are battling multiple fires in this heat, and one of them was in Fairview Heights at Old Lincoln Trail in 161. There are firefighters that could be seen visibly exhausted from the heat. They are doing everything they can to take their breaks and make sure that they have a ton of hydration. Well, we have a boil order that those of you that live in Fenton probably got an email about, but it continues into today and hopefully dropping by this afternoon. About 2,000 of you along a stretch of 141, all because of a water main break. Now, the water is safe for showering and brushing your teeth, but do not drink it. You're asked to still boil the water for that. It did shut down some businesses yesterday. For those that didn't have to shut down, they had to go buy a bunch of water. They're looking at their expenses that they had from yesterday, but they still wanted to be there for their customers. So later this afternoon is what they're saying. So keep an eye to your email and you'll get the latest on that. Any of you take your dogs to a dog park? Well, there's a St. Charles County dog park that is shut down after bacteria known as blue-green algae was found in the water. This is Bromelsick Park. It's closed indefinitely. The bacteria is toxic to pets. It can be deadly. The temperatures, by the way, are adding to the problem. Again, that's Bromelsick Park. I drove by it actually yesterday, just off of Highway DD in the Defiance area, so you will not be able to go there. And you can see that film on the top of the water, again, toxic to your pets. I'm not sure when that will get a chance to reopen. It's a big day in South County today. This is really exciting for our community. So I was driving by this morning off of Tesson Ferry, right there at Tesson Ferry and South Fork Road. This is going to be the ribbon cutting today of the new, you can see the YMCA, a new adaptive park. The Cardinals, by the way, will be on hand, including Paul Goldschmidt and others from the St. Louis Cardinals Care. The opening day celebration will take place at 11 a.m. And this new facility, as you see, will allow youth and adults with disabilities the opportunity to experience the joys of playing sports. And if you've been driving by Tesson Ferry, you've seen that in the works for quite a while now. All right, we got the talker of the day, and this is real. It's not April. It's not an April Fool's joke. A 22-inch alligator has been spotted in Bonne Terre, a sighting of an alligator. This is not a joke. Several credible sources have spotted the gator. Now, Conservation Department officials have not seen it yet, but they are backing up the sources. We are told that this particular type of alligator does not bother humans, but I don't know about you. I wouldn't get too close. Ew. All right. In sports, congratulations to St. Louis and Matthew Tkachuk. He and his Florida Panthers are Stanley Cup champions this morning, raising that cup up proudly. The Panthers beating Edmonton, still coming down to the wire, 2-1. By the way, the first time in franchise history for Florida. Edmonton came back strong, though. They evened up the series after they were down 3-0. They forced Game 7 and went down to the wire, 2-1. Again, Florida winning over Edmonton. Tkachuk said he wanted to win, obviously, for his city, but especially for his brother and his dad. And it wasn't just him. Vladimir Tarasenko getting his second Stanley Cup after hoisting one with our St. Louis Blues. And the Cardinals coming out victorious as well. They beat the Braves. The score was 4-3. Same two teams today at 6:45. You're all caught up now in the news you can use, sports, and again, watching out for the weather. Let's get into our guest of the day. Again, a very powerful hour on tap for you. And we start off our hour with Amy Post. She'll be in the blue chair when we return.
She's a special woman and done so much for St. Louis.
Watching her work is one of the most incredible things you can see.
She just sees value in everyone.
Sometimes people just need you to sit with them and hear them. I feel heard.
The time flew by, and it was like sitting and talking to a friend.
Not only creating a better place here in St. Louis, but to inspire others. It's always great to have examples like you.
You have such a light and such a presence, and I could feel it this morning.
We knew right away when you started this, we wanted to be on your show. Thanks for having us.
And I look forward to seeing how you rock and roll and shake it up.
Welcome back. It is 7:10 and time to kick off our hour. If you're just tuning in, thanks, by the way, for being a part of the Real Monica Adams Show. You as a viewer, and then all of you, our wonderful sponsors. Next week, Monday, we have a brand new one that is starting. Can't wait to welcome in Dr. Sarah Jensen with Regional Dermatology. She's incredible, and she's already given me a ton of topics to talk about, but she wants to know from you, what would you like to hear her talk about? Shoot me an email, and I'll forward those to her. info@TheRealMonicaAdams.com. I already had one of you wanted to know about what can you wear on your skin with regards to mosquitoes and ticks and all of that. That's a good question, and she's got the answer for you next week. All right, my guest right now, we have 3 guests that will be on in this hour. Our first one, we've been talking for the last several months about bringing her on. I wanted to wait until this book was out so that we could get this delivered to you. Amy Post, my guest. First of all, thanks for coming in the studio.
Thank you, Monica. It's great to be here.
Amy is an author, a podcast host, but more importantly, a resilient mother. I read your entire book last night. I wouldn't go to bed until I did.
Oh, my goodness. I love that. Thank you.
You are quite a writer, let me just tell you that. Wow. I'm super impressed. One of the best books I've ever read in my life. You will turn page after page, as I did, scrolling down on my computer, reading and reading, because she sent me over the manuscript. You're seeing it on our coffee table here, Out of the Gray. And so, you know, Amy, you've heard a lot of people say, how do I ever find the light? Seeking the light. I have so many notes from this that you and I could probably do a series on this show. She says in the book, once upon a time, a beautiful, brilliant, strong princess named Madison got very, and we could just keep using the word very, sick. The rest of the story will be me telling you how she fought the battle of her life to get well. She and you together, the bond the two of you have, and how she wouldn't leave your side. And I don't want to give it all away because you need to read this book, but Amy, I don't know how you have gone through what you've gone through. Let me just say that. And I know you talk about the difficulties and how it got to a point where you questioned your faith so much, but then he was there with you, guiding you along the way, right?
Yeah.
Let's just, I don't even know where to begin with this. There's so much to this story, but let's just go to you living in Brentwood, and everything, just like a lot of things in life, all seemed great. And like nothing could ever change the bond and any problems of how wonderful your life was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was. And I think as so many of us, you know, we want that life to be great. We get married, we have kids. You know, life is you know, what we were making of it. And I think that we, as humans, don't feel that that storm is going to land on our doorstep. And it landed on ours. And it was probably one of the most terrifying days and terrifying next several years of our life. You know, our 3-year-old was diagnosed with malignant liver cancer.
Stage 4.
Stage 4, hepatoblastoma at age 3. And we were then, about a week and a half later, told that she had a really rare genetic cancer gene that would not only bring 1, but 2 more cancers within her life. And we were just kind of given, you know, the doom and gloom right there. And I think for anybody that has gone through something like that, it is extremely terrifying and challenging. You don't know what to think and you don't know where to turn.
Well, I think as a mother and a father, how do you even begin to broach that subject with a 3-year-old? How do you have their little brains compute what you're getting ready to tell them?
Yeah, you know, and I figured out very quickly, you have to be positive. You have to figure it out every day. And I'll tell you something, Monica, this one really set me straight. It was less than 24 hours when we were into the hospital. And of course, my husband had to go home to raise our 6-year-old son. And so I was there. It was really no discussion. But I look back and I wouldn't have done it any different. I wouldn't have left her side. And that next morning, I woke up about 4:30, 5 o'clock, my normal time, just out of, you know, having my internal alarm clock. And I went across to the coffee shop, the coffee room there in the hospital, and there was a gentleman in the room, and I started a conversation with him. I just needed to talk to somebody. Sure. He was there, and his son had been diagnosed about age 3, same age as my daughter, and he was back again many years later, and his son had brain cancer. And I think I remember my heart just falling. And I said, I have nothing to feel guilty about. I have to find something to be blessed about every day. I have to count my blessings and have gratitude every single day because I wasn't going to be able to make it out of there.
Oh, I mean, because what you're looking for, again, and we're talking about the book, and so much praise for this, by the way. This just came out how long ago?
May 7th.
Right. So we've been talking, though, since October.
Yeah.
And I said, Amy, we had so many different, and to me, I kept thinking it was God. I'm like, why am I delaying this woman coming on? Right? You get this, how God says it's our time, my time, all of us together. I never knew why. I've never told a guest as often as I told her, but something inside me, gut instinct that you talk about so much in this book was like, no, it's not time yet. It's not time yet. And I'm glad we waited. Are you not?
I am very glad because so much has come to fruition over almost the last 2 years when God just told me this is what I need to do. This is where the next journey begins.
Again, out of the gray, into the light, a mother stands up for her daughter and herself in a fight for survival. I don't wish this on anyone, what this family has gone through. But what I want you to hear is in whatever you're going through in life, follow in this book the things that she pays attention to. You know, you were told by people, and I thought this was so powerful. I'm like, I could see this happening. She stood up to so many. She stood up to Big Pharma. She stood up to hospitals in our area when she felt, no, I'm not just going to roll over and get swept under a carpet. I'm going to speak up. You want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, you know, like you said, Monica, it was just gut instinct, but there were protocols that were incorrect. There were things that were incorrect. Medications were wrong. They were not reading medication wristbands and ankle bracelets. Things were just really slipping through the cracks. We were quarantined to our room every time we were there. And we were quarantined for 4 weeks at a time. And we could go home for about 24 hours and we were swept back in. And things just weren't feeling right. And so if I didn't lean into the uncomfortable and the completely terrifying uncomfortable, I wasn't probably going to get us out of there. And I think for anybody that is looking at that situation or in that situation, you have the ability to ask questions. And you have the ability to really kind of challenge those moments.
That's the word, to challenge because of your belief system. Even though your own family was saying, I think you need to shh. I think you to be, because this is where our daughter is being cared for. And if you create too much of a riff, what's going to happen? And you were like, no, I feel this. Because you were there with her day in and day out. You watched things that others didn't see. She was questioning, wait a minute, we're in this bubble. So who's actually coming into this room? It's those within the hospital. Where have you been? And then you tell a story about this resident. Oh, this is a powerful part of this person that came in about 2:30 in the morning, and you just felt, tell them. I just got chills right now reading it.
I just got goosebumps. The hair on the back of my neck stood up, and I was awake most of the time. I slept in one of those corner chairs. I didn't really sleep. And the gentleman walked in, and it was just one of those moments that you feel something was really wrong. The questions he was asking were just completely inadequate of what he should have been asking, just really kind of lurking around the room. My daughter was asleep, and so it wasn't, a conversation for her, so it was very, very unusual. And the next morning, I remember just telling my family, I have to step out of the room. One of the physicians had come in the room. I had asked for the main physician to come in that next morning. I just needed to speak with him or her, and my family just came saying, Amy, just stop causing problems. Just please stop. They're going to resist giving her care. I was bullied to that point. And I said, I really have to have this conversation. And I went around the corner and just told the physician what had happened. And my mouth about fell onto the floor when she said that many families had said the same thing. And he had been brought up in so many conversations, but yet he had never been removed from those floors and been removed from that situation. And I had to really kind of figure out what to do. And at those moments, you have to take it into your own hands. And it was going to be my attorney stepping up with me to take on a situation if they allowed this individual to come back into our room. And if I ever saw that individual in the hospital again, it would be a lawsuit.
Amy literally said that. She said that person will not come back in the rounds. And then you kept being just kind of dismissed. No, he'll be back. No, he will not walk into my room, or I promise you I will file a lawsuit. And that's where others around were like, shh, shh, shh. she's like, no. If you're just tuning in, again, Amy Post, we're talking about the book, Out of the Gray, Into the Light. You also have a podcast.
I do.
Do you want to tell them the name of that so where they can follow?
Yeah, it's Advocacy and Hope. It is a podcast that you can follow on YouTube and Spotify right now, but we do weekly interviews every Monday at 10 a.m. They're actually live streaming now, which have been really successful. So you can follow and see the live streams on Facebook, Instagram, and then we put them on all the platforms.
Right, and so I want you to listen into that because she was drawn to do this, drawn to write this book, to be a voice of hope for so many that go through this. One of the things that she talks about in the book over and over again is, you know, looking at what she and her daughter were going through, what your entire family was going through, but realizing that there was some hope, then you'd be knocked back down. There was hope and you'd be knocked back down. It happens over and over and over again between the original diagnosis to a transplant and what that would look like, and then something, and I don't want to give it away, that went wrong in a procedure that she didn't want to happen. And you got to read that in the book, but that goes wrong. And it's just, you get to a point that where you just had to have people leave you alone, drop down to your knees, and talk about your conversations with God and what took place over all these years.
Yeah, and I believe now looking back through different lenses with a different perspective, I feel that I wasn't praying correctly, but I think I was praying the only way that I knew how at the moment, just to change the situations, to make them better, but to give me the strength to know what to do. Just every day, it was just to please honestly give me that education and knowledge of what is right. Do I follow what family is saying? Do I follow these voices? Or do I follow my instinct, which I firmly believe was just God leading me to the next step and the next journey? And you know, you can't drink from a fire hose in these situations. And I know that God gives you what you can handle at those moments. And I think it was just those perfect pieces at the perfect moment and moving forward. And so that's really what occurred. And honestly, Monica, it wasn't, you know, please just, you know, give me this, I'll never do anything again. At first it kind of was, you know, replace me with her, I'll do anything. And then it was, you know, our journey is our journey. There has to be purpose in this pain. There has to be something more powerful. And I think looking through that lens and with that mind frame, that is where it really took me. But that positivity really spurred from, she's feeding off everything that she feels and sees. And the hospital was not a great place to have the positivity. And God really doesn't live within those walls. It's very difficult to feel as though the presence is there. And so you have to figure out quickly, you know, where your faith is.
And Amy just said that God only gives you what you can handle. He must think you're the strongest person on the face of this earth, you and your daughter and your son and your husband and anybody that went through this. If you're just tuning in, Amy Post, again, we're talking about a diagnosis of her daughter when she was so unbelievably young. And you look at that and think, how can this child have all these tubes hooked up and be prodded? And one of the hardest things was when your son wanted to come up to the hospital to see her. It was the visible sign of the scar, this big V from her chest to the abdomen. And he didn't want to show the fear in his face to his sister. But you said when he turned to you how big his eyes were of trying to compute all that. How difficult to be away from her husband. How difficult to be away from her son and not be there with him growing up. And one of the things she hears and sees is a percentage constantly in front of her of 90% of marriages do not survive. And she kept thinking, am I the 90 or am I the 10? It pushes you, doesn't it? Strains you.
It does. And I think you can look at it whichever way you want. But Monica, I was really intrigued by what happened to the 90%? Why did it fail? We were just in the beginning stages. So I can look back now, you know, almost 10 years later, and I can see it all in its full picture, just unraveling. And I really felt that we had to be consistently staying in that 10%, and I had to figure out how to stay together because it wasn't probably going to be any better on the other side.
Sure. And it wasn't easy. In fact, there's a part that I think is riveting where she talks, and it happens a few times throughout the book, about this drive that you were doing. Because they were in Brentwood, and they moved to Chesterfield, and there's so many things that happen of, well, this was where everything was good. And you would talk about the only 2 houses that they've lived in, but those were the happy times in Brentwood. And then in Chesterfield, from that point on, it's what happens. The mother's instinct of when you get the phone call at school, like your daughter's sitting on the playground. Well, what kid just sits there and doesn't want to play? You were like, I don't think this is just anything. So she felt, and she dismissed some of that because you trust God, you trust medical professionals. I love the journey, by the way, through this book where she talks about we all do, and I do Medical Mondays, but one of the biggest things, if you watch the show, I always challenge the Western Eastern culture. And there's a huge shift in the back part of the book where all of a sudden it goes into the holistic and homeopathic and essential oils. I'm not going to give all that away, but I'm so glad that that's where it went to. And trust yourself. I think there's a beautiful marriage that needs to take place between Eastern and Western, but not to dismiss anything about regular Western medicine doctors, but I just wish more would open their minds. And when you see something miraculous happen in front of you, don't dismiss it as there's no way it's because of that. The essential oils couldn't have that, and she was even told to stop that. All the things that she was feeling that she was drawn to. I'm going to take a quick break. When we come back, a story that happened in the car that is unbelievably powerful, that you would think, yes, I could see my mind wanting to go to that, to just take you to this place. We'll go with that. Amy Post, Out of the Gray, Into the Light. More when we return.
When I started MyPillow, it was just a problem solution, one product company. Well, since then, with the help of my dedicated employees, we now have hundreds of products, some you might not even know about. To get the word out, we're having a $25 extravaganza. 2-pack multi-use MyPillows, $25. MyPillow sandals, $25. And for the first time ever, our 6-pack towel sets, you guessed it, just $25. Our brand new 4-pack dish towels, $25. And I've never done this before. Premium MyPillows with all new Giza fabric, any size, any loft level, even king size for only $25. And there's so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code for our $25 extravaganza. Order $75 and over. Your entire order ships absolutely free.
727, and let me thank this woman right here for that guy coming on to our show, believing in our show. We're working to have him on the show, by the way, to talk about what he's gone through, from being in prison to being involved in drugs, which, by the way, this is a whole nother part of the story that's Out of the Gray, Into the Light, where you talk about your brother, again, paying attention to things back then, being dismissed by her family, trying to get him help. They wouldn't listen. They supported. So many people feed the addiction, and you enable that. She was trying to help with that, had to get away with all that. I mean, again, there's so much to this book. It's just powerful. I don't know how this isn't a movie. This needs to turn into a movie. Mark my word, somehow somebody needs to get a hold of this. So, your mantra, listen to your gut. She also had this calendar that was in her purse that opened up from her grandma that said, never fear shadows. They simply mean there's a light shining somewhere nearby. But in so many things, Amy and the family thought, where's the light? Because many of you probably feel that there's this darkness and there's this thunder cloud that's constantly over you. This family has dealt with so much. And there's a particular day you talk about in the book where you're driving in the car and you're driving faster and faster, 92, 96, 98. You knew the car could go to 150 miles per hour. Do you dare put yourself and your daughter in danger? Yeah. What was in your head that day?
You know, I look back, and I have many times, and of course, writing the book, I think I looked back, goodness, hundreds of times as I edited the book. That was a really sad day. And I think anybody who is in a situation where the hurricane has just landed on their doorstep and they don't know where to turn or what to feel, I can honestly say I don't know where it came from. It was something that had never entered my mind ever before, but I think I had hit a point where I wasn't sure where to turn. There weren't answers in the hospital. We weren't given those resources. There was just nothing given to us except for gloom and doom every single day. I'm a really positive person, and I've always been told, how can she be so happy and so positive all her life? And this was the first time in my life that I honestly didn't think that I could manage what was being given to me. And trying to be in that mind frame, positivity every single day, and follow in what the hospital was telling us to do, I just broke. I honestly just broke that day. And
You
it
need
was
to give
really
yourself
scary.
some grace, though, right?
Yes.
Well, I'm sure you've
I
probably
did.
struggled so many times of thinking, I can't believe that my mind went to taking my life, my daughter's life, but you just wanted this horrific story that felt like Groundhog Day every day to end.
Yeah.
You looked at your daughter. Describe that.
Oh, just her face in the back seat. It was something I'll never forget, just the sorrow. And she just wanted to be a kid. She just wanted to go back to daycare and play with her friends. And she had gone from being very happy and positive to I couldn't see the smile anymore. And for me, I was trying to keep myself uplifted and her and everybody around us. And I felt like I was fighting a monster within this facility and this system that I honestly, for that one split moment, I didn't know if I was going to be able to do it. I think that I was completely alone. There's not a lot of resources. We got nothing. Absolutely nothing within that facility to tell you where to go. There was no roadmap. I look back now and I'm so grateful that there wasn't a roadmap. I needed to figure this out on my own.
That's powerful.
And I needed to look into my daughter's eyes and dig deep and try to figure out what God had for me. And I think that my entire life brought me to that point of this is it. These are the turning points in your life that you're going to look back forever and you're going to say, am I proud of the way that I went? And I am.
You are one of the strongest women I've ever met in my life. No, I hope a friendship forms here because I was like, God, I love this woman. I love this family. I love this resilience and what we can learn from. I'm always big in my life coaching of asking people what their purpose is. You talk about purpose and how you are brought to purpose.
Thank you.
You also, again, I mentioned earlier that there's this constant from physicians and nurses, and it's this walking in and out of the room, talking as though you're not there. And it's like, hello, we're here, we're human beings. And she's a little girl and she's listening to you just describe all this stuff and go in and out and in and out. And then they're told that it had to have come, this rare gene, besides, again, if you're following along, she gets diagnosed with stage 4 malignant liver cancer. They are told that there is this rare gene, and you are told point blank that it comes from you or Eric, your husband.
Yes.
So it's definitive, right?
Yes.
Well, wait till you read the story. I'm just going to say that.
Yeah.
You also find a friendship through this, which is really beautiful. Did you ever meet her, by the way?
No.
Oh, I wondered in the book. I'm like, did you meet? So she also goes through working and having all these customers that she works with and all these people standing by her side because she's in the hospital for months on end and hanging on. And you wonder, are you going to be able to keep your job?
Yeah.
Well, you wonder. Read the book.
Yeah.
Another hit after hit after hit. Not giving that away. You've got to read this. The friendship, though, is formed as someone through the company that's going through something very similar to you.
Yes, and that was a godsend. And I didn't realize how powerful it was going to be because when you're in these situations, it's hard for people to relate. And I understand that. And I think that that's why we don't talk about it a lot. But when I met this individual, it was just someone from my company saying, hey, I think you should reach out to her. She's going through the same thing. Her daughter was diagnosed actually just a couple of months prior to your daughter. And I thought, I don't know what to do. And I reached out to her immediately, and we were literally each other's lifeline every single day. It was beautiful, but we needed it because I don't know how I would have made it without her and without my ability just to stand up, and of course without God being there. But we were both, faith driven, and we had that in common. It was wonderful.
And she sat in the corner when her daughter would finally go to sleep. She would sit in the corner, hunched over a computer, a book, researching because she was being told things in the hospital that didn't sit with her mind and her spirit and her gut, kept following the gut instinct. So when you get those moments, if you're faith-based, you believe that those are messages from God to not give up. She kept following that. And then the more it empowered you to say, no, I'm going to continue to stand up for this. It happened once. I'm going to keep speaking up. up. So let's talk about where Madison is right now. You mentioned before, and I know a lot of you tune in so many times throughout the hour. If you miss this, she and you and your family were told you're past this point. But there's going to be 2 other times in her life. So there's testing being done right now, is that right?
Correct. She has numerous teams that still follow her, and they have told us, and they always do, it's 100% guaranteed that she will get the next 2 cancers. The next one is between ages 13 and 17, which is colon cancer, and then around age 46 or 47 is thyroid cancer.
And she's how old right now?
She's 13.
13,
She'll be 14 in October. And Monica, that didn't sit well with me either. It just didn't. How do you get your mind frame in the right place? How do you keep that mind frame positive when you are just being given over and over such negative information? But I get it. I've lived, 20 some years in the clinical data world. I've been in outside medical sales for 20 years. I know, but you have to look between the lines, but you also have to know if they have not been through something like that, it's not close to them. It's very difficult for them to understand, and I did have to give them grace after being a little unsettled with what we were given. But we don't know. We changed our entire life after those kind of results were given to us, because I think that the body and the mind is so powerful, and that was mind frame first, positive vibes, everything first. And then it kind of trickled down from there with, like you said, the functional medicine and how we were living our life each and every day. And it meant kind of keeping her safe also. So we had to draw lines in the sand with the medical facility. And I knew that was taking risks, but I knew in my gut it was the best thing for her, because it's very fearful of what you have to go through. And so it was just something I really needed to do. But I think about it all the time. The last, 10 years, I think for about 8 years, I was very fearful. I lived in what I call a glass castle. I isolated myself. It was extremely lonely, and I fell into a place where I kind of lost myself for a while of where do you go? What do you do? Who do you turn to? Because we can't offload this. It sits, in my conscience all the time. It's always there. It never goes away. So we had to make a different life plan.
Well, and your life has changed, but again, it's all awareness of what's around us, what we consume, what we're breathing in, the toxicity, the plastic, so many things that they've changed to better them as a family. We didn't even talk about Amy's sickness, because she's taking care of her daughter so much and worrying about her family, being away from her family, trying to keep this family unit together. And then finally, when they feel like they're in the clear with Madison, it is, I have been sick, and I'm finally going to realize just how sick I am. So then they go through that. I mean, again, family, it's unbelievable, folks, when you read the book, and I want you to. So this is available. It just came out in May, wherever, Amazon.
Yeah,
are you in bookstores locally?
We're getting into local bookstores. I'll be doing some signings, but you can get it on Amazon, Target, Walmart, any of the major retailers. You can go to my website at amypost.com. You can read more about myself, our journey, and see if it might be the right book for you. You can order the book there as well.
And I love this. We were putting up not only her website, but where you can follow her as well. The Real Amy Post.
Yes.
We connect on that, right? We need to be more real in life. Amy, you're a pleasure. I would love to do some follow-ups on you, because if she's 13 going on 14, I'd like to know where the testing goes. Yeah. And I'd really love to see the test that they want to do. If she feels it's the right thing, does she challenge that? Because she found her voice. And here's how we're going to end. That little girl would look out the window at the hospital and see the park and see the seasons change and the kids and the adults ice skating and just wanting some sense of normalcy. So I'll ask, if she were here to speak right now, where would she say her life currently is?
It's in a great place. She has taken her life by storm. She knows that she can't be driven by fear. She understands we don't hide anything. I'm a very raw and real individual, and she needs to be able to make these decisions for herself. She is a acro gymnast.
Yeah, she flies through the air.
She loves uncertainty and pushing herself to the limits that just she people tell her she can't do. She's been told that for 10 years. You can't do this. And she'll do it with a smile on her face.
She
She's
needs
amazing.
to use the hashtag that we love so much. Let them watch, right?
Yes.
Let everybody watch. Amy, give her a big hug for me,
I
please.
will.
Your entire family, what you've been through, what you continue to go through. But wow, you've learned so much. And I think maybe the biggest message is to be your own advocate, right? Because no one's going to be the strongest advocate besides yourself.
Yes.
You're incredible.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Out of the gray, into the light, a mother stands up for her daughter and herself in a fight for survival. We haven't even had a chance to look at your comments or questions. I will make sure that she sees those. And if you have anything you'd like to pass along to Amy, just to say, wow, thank you. Once you read the book, let her know and follow her, listen to the podcast, read the book. And yeah, I think you're going to end up making an appearance on my show again.
Yeah.
We're going to go from Amy to St. Louis Story Stitchers. Now, this is what I love. We always talk about how do we keep our youth safe? How do we get the kids off the streets of the city? Well, what an incredible organization this is. They get their artistic talents through song, through dance, through making music. All of that with this organization. They've got a couple things coming up also that I want you to be a part of, and maybe even getting those that you know off the streets, out of the violence. We keep talking about how St. Louis City and St. Louis as a whole, it just kind of gets wrapped up into one, that we have friends and family don't want to come visit St. Louis because they think it's just a horrible place to live. We've been here, we love it, and we want to have a better light shine on our area. Things like this need to take place to keep our kids safe. So we're going to be talking with Susan Colangelo and Branden Lewis in our blue chairs when you return. Need women to lift women up. Let's do that.
Being on Monica's show, it was like one of the best interviews I've ever had.
Monica's very real, and she really cares about people.
She's changing lives.
Changing lives.
I think this is just really what people want to see.
Giving back so much to the community, and I really appreciate it.
Today, Monica was extraordinarily real, not only with me, but with her viewers and her listeners.
Made the interview process like talking to a friend.
How are you doing? Good to see you. Haven't seen you in a few weeks.
Hey! You're close!
Monica! Whoa!
So go out in this world and be anything you want to be. But before you do that, first, be kind.
Ready? Is the sound man okay?
My voice is the conductor of my life. When your voice brings you joy. I can't wait to fly. Ça va les garçons? Je t'aime. You're the best of yourself. I need my instrument.
Soleil.
911, what's your emergency?
I've been diagnosed with a very rare neurological disorder, and I wasn't ready to say anything before. But I'm ready now.
There were nights when the wind was so cold.
I see my life, and I love every piece of it. When a girl loves her shoes, she always make them fit. From 6 to 10, give it to me. I love them. Here we go.
I finished crying in the instant that you left.
When you record, it sounds great, but when you go on stage, it will be greater. I think we did create our own magic.
There were days when the sun was so cool.
It's not hard to do a show, you know. It's hard to cancel a show. I'm working hard every day, but I have to admit, it's been a struggle. I miss it so much. The people. I miss them. If I can't run, I'll walk. If I can't walk, I'll crawl. I won't stop. I won't stop.
It's all coming back to me.
And that new documentary is out today. Again, it is exclusively globally on Prime Video. I Am Celine Dion, as you see there. I don't know if you're as big of a fan as I am, but a lot of people would ask me growing up. Actually, I was just asked, a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about karaoke and how I used to do contests, and someone was like, oh, well, what was your go-to? Todd Thomas actually asked me, what was your go-to music? It was always hers. Celine Dion, Whitney Houston, those are the voices I grew up with, and Todd came back and went, wow, like, you must be good because those are hard. I don't sing the way she does, but I would get near her notes. I don't know if I can anymore, but wow, what an incredible woman. And I cannot wait to go home and watch this later. If you get a chance to, let me know what you think. But that was the trailer that we wanted to provide for you. So I hope you enjoyed that. Little transition from that powerful story from Amy Post. I can't wait for you to get that book. Out of the gray, into the light. Right? We want light for everybody in life. And one of the reasons I wanted to bring our next guest on is because I hear so many of you when I did news of our youth is this, our youth is that, you know, oh my gosh, the future leaders of the world, I'm scared. Really? Because I think there are so many incredible youth that are out there and incredible organizations, and this is one of them. I had never heard of this until about a month ago, St. Louis Story Stitchers, and I want to thank Marla Ballinger, by the way. Marla is the one that turned me on to this, and as soon as I saw this, I thought, we need this on our show. So let me first introduce my guest. I mentioned that Susan, is it Colangelo? Am I saying that right?
You are.
Oh, good.
Perfect.
Susan Colangelo and Branden Lewis, thanks for coming in.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
When Susan first said, oh, I will definitely come in, I don't know if the kids want to wake up that early, I laughed and went, yeah, I understand. But Branden did, so thank you.
Yes, absolutely. It's an honor.
Well, let's first go back. So St. Louis Story Stitchers, tell everybody what the organization is all about and how long it's been around.
This is our 10th year, and we are a youth-centered artist collective. We're a collaborative art studio. We make original work for the public and push it out and through performances and presentations all year round.
Right, and so one of the things that I love, I watched all these different videos, and I love when you're all in hard hats and you're going into this building. It's always a beautiful thing. They were both complimenting our studio, by the way, and I might as well just go ahead and say it on air because I was like, hang on, we got to go back on air. This was just an office space, just like you're seeing as you walked through, Branden.
Wow.
And it can turn into this. You saw the same thing, though, Branden, right? You and everyone else with the hard hats, seeing this space that you're looking at right here. But when they first came in, it was, how do we see the vision of what we want it to be? Take us through that.
100%. Not only that, but the video that you see is actually still of a incomplete center. And so the video was created during the creation of the center, during the filling out of the center. But if you were to come to our center, say during our hours of operation, you would see an even more evolved studio than what you see on the video. That being said, that was the Vaughn Cultural Center for a while. The building was abandoned for a couple years, 2-3 years, and
it was a mess.
Yes, it was definitely nothing like what it is now.
Well, it looks beautiful now. I mean, they've got this whole podcast area. You're mixing music.
Yes.
You're bringing all art to life. But I think the most powerful message is that you're giving hope. We keep talking about hope in this hour of our youth and trying to keep you safe. We keep talking about the statistics, and this is what I didn't want to do any longer in the news. The statistics in crime that takes place. You hear it. There's probably friends and family that you've seen that have been affected by it. But now you're saying, but look at this hope we have of one of the things I think is powerful in one of the videos is, yeah, when we get bored, we come here, not we hear boredom. Violence sometimes follows that.
Absolutely.
Can you tell everybody that's watching the power in that?
100%. So there's so much power in, first of all, just existing as a safe space that youth are able to come to. We talk to a lot of mental health professionals that talk about how it's important to have that third space. So for a youth, it would be like going from home to school, home to school, home to school. For an adult or an older youth, it would be work and home, work and home, work and home. They talk about how it's important to have that third space that you can go to. It's not associated to home. It's not associated to work. It's just this kind of this third area that you can exist in. And that's exactly what the center is. It's completely free for the youth to be a part of it. We don't charge them to be in the space. They do have to register just so that we know who's in the space and so that they can have access to the space because it is a members only only space, but it's absolutely free for them to apply and register to the space. Like you were saying earlier, there's podcasting, there's a studio, there's a dance area, there's DJing, there's DJ curriculums, there's podcast curriculums. A lot of the things that we do, we actually teach them how to do so that they can develop those skills as well. Provide
and a little break dancing taking place right there. That's my heart right there.
Definitely.
Let me tell you what, you've got to watch some of this and go to their website and listen to the music, because I just sat there and went, wow, you are talented.
Thank
so
you.
many
Thank
talented artists. When they start to sing about the St. Louis Story Stitchers, that one I was like, yeah, that's my groove. I like that.
Thank you. Yes, absolutely.
So Susan, how does this all come about? Where's the brainchild? Who says we need this done?
That was me, but I didn't know what was going to happen. I had been listening to the news, and I heard a story in 2012 about two sisters who were shot while sitting on their front porch in University City, which is near where I live. And two brothers were arrested about a week later, and I woke up to the gun violence that was here. I'm not from St. Louis.
Okay.
So we'd moved here in 2005, and this was 2012. And that I just gathered some artist friends, and we met, and I was embroidering stories from the news for about 10 years before that. I brought my stitching. That's where the Stitchers comes from.
I was just going to ask you, where did the name come from?
And we founded the Artist Collective that night, and a year later we incorporated it as a nonprofit. So we're actually going to be celebrating that 10 years in August 10th.
Yep.
And August 9th, Brandon is working with the young people to make a wonderful youth empowerment summit.
Yes, I was going to talk about that. You've got two big things, again, on the 9th and the 10th. So there's the celebration for you, the Youth Empowerment Summit. Again, the knowledge, emceeing, DJing, graffiti, breaking. I love the fact, by the way, that breakdancing is back, because, Brandon, you got to understand, I used to spin on my head and on my back and do all of that when I was in grade school.
Wow.
I love breakdancing, so I was very drawn to this story. Where do you get all the kids from? How are they knowing about this? I mean, now it's been around for almost 10 years, but back then, how were they starting to find out that this existed for them?
Well, we're only in our center it's only been open a year. So this is great that you're having us here. We're trying to spread the word.
Good.
So they find us through teachers, referrals, therapist referrals. And that's the perception team.
Brandon.
I haven't seen these pictures yet.
Oh, no?
I just went around the center and asked them if I could take their portraits.
These were literally just
that was
taken.
Saturday.
They were just
Saturday.
oh, good. I'm glad we're showing them then. And you just saw that on the left side of the screen. It said, perception isn't always reality, which is something I wanted you to go. So, yeah, there we go. Go deeper into that. And there's their website, by the way, storystitchers.org. Perception isn't always reality. Boy, isn't that true.
Yeah, it is very true.
Go a little deeper. Actually, I want you both to tell me what you think that means, because, we look on the web, we see TikTok, right? I'm going to try to get into your generation. TikTok, Instagram. Well, if it's there, it's got to be real, really? Or a news story. This is the narrative of this group that wants to show you this. Here's the narrative of the other group. Where's the entire story, right?
Exactly.
Perception isn't always reality. It's very powerful. What does that mean to you?
So it came about 10 years ago, actually, after Michael Brown's murder. The young people who were in the Stitchers Youth Council at that time were young men, and they were agitated, I would say, by the visitors that were nightly on the news who didn't live in St. Louis, who were, pontificating about what was happening in Ferguson. And they said, no one's asking us. Like, no one's asking anyone like us. We're 18, we're black. We know what it's like to be 18 and black. We know what it was like for Michael Brown. Why can't we talk? So they organized a discussion, and we called it Perception Isn't Always Reality, because they felt like oftentimes, as young black men, they're perceived to be something that they're not. And that was the start of it. And we've been exploring this theme now through the years. So this time, Brandon's working on this with Amira Burns, and this is Brown Mental Health. It's a PSA project.
Yes. So the PSA is surrounding destigmatizing mental health, specifically for people of color, teenagers, early adults, and we're going into there's music that's being created. There were videos that were all filmed. So we were in the center from about 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Saturday, filming these videos to serve for our PSA, and they will show up on bus shelters. We've had several story circles. We're actually going to have another one on June 28th with Dr. Julie Gary, and we're going to have another conversation surrounding destigmatizing mental health, just like we did on the 17th of June with Dr. Mati of the Department of Health.
Right, and this is what needs to get out there. We talk about mental health so much on this show, and that it's okay not to be okay. It's okay to finally talk about it. The conversation, though, has to get started by someone. I love the fact that there were some of the videos that I watched, there were roundtable discussions where people were in front of microphones, young, our youth, boys and girls alike, and everyone has a voice. Sometimes they just want to be given permission to have the voice, don't they?
Absolutely. Agreed. And on our podcast, Stitchcast Studio, mental health is definitely a reoccurring topic, and mental health is so vast that the conversations are never the same. You can have so many conversations within mental health, and we actually don't choose the topics. And so the fact that these are topics that get reoccurred means that the young people want to talk about them, because we allow them to choose the topics, and we kind of work around what it is that they have on their hearts to say. And so I think it's a great thing that mental health is starting to be talked about and getting the attention that it deserves. And I think the next step, or maybe a simultaneous step, is working on lessening the stigmatization around mental health. And granted, a lot of people before us couldn't really afford to dive into how they felt mentally and mental well-being or whatnot. So we're not blaming anybody, but we do recognize that we are in a position where we can focus on that, and that we should focus on that, and that's what our intentions are.
What we're doing right now is always something that I have believed so powerfully in my heart and soul that needs to be done, and that is discussions. Absolutely. Not, here's the news, St. Louis is a horrible place to live. Oh my gosh, the crime is horrible. These kids in the city, North City, and then it's creeping more and more and more in all these other areas, and people just say these things, perception, say these things, believe it. You don't know the full story. You don't want to know the full story sometimes, I don't think, right? You don't want to know the awareness that needs to be out there, and it's not talked about. But that is what this show is all about, that we put it out there for all ages, from youth all the way up to seniors. It's a powerful thing. We're going to take a quick break. Again, we're talking with Susan Colangelo, Branden Lewis. We're talking about St. Louis Story Stitchers. And again, the perception isn't always reality, special edition mental health, the PSAs that they're working on. And then June 28th, the Turkish Pavilion in Tower Grove Park. It's free, 10 a.m. to noon. There will be several guests there, and they'll have more on the mental health project. I just absolutely love what they're doing. We're going to have more with Susan and Branden when we return.
Are truly an incredible human being, and just what you're doing is so inspiring. This was really a cathartic experience for me, so I appreciate you, love you.
It's been an honor to not only just be here on set with you, but just to sit in your presence. You inspire everyone around you, from your motivational speaking to your podcast here, to just being the human that you are.
It's just such a joy to be able to see you at this point in your career. Really following your passion, fulfilling your dreams, and encouraging other people to do the same.
I feel that I've been missing out. I believe God places people like you in people's lives for a reason. You have definitely been a God wing for me.
Okay, we've been talking about how this is going to be the hottest day of the year. You want to jump in that right now, don't you? I mean, already at 8 o'clock in the morning, we're already talking about being in the upper 80s, some of you in the low 90s. Heat indices, so dangerous today, maybe up near 107, with the actual temperature reaching 100 to 103. So, parents, you're going to listen to your kids, right? You're going to get one of those in your backyard. maybe not that size. That's the great thing about Just Pools and Spas on the West Outer Road in Arnold. They can build one for you, whatever the shape, whatever the size. That's really popular, by the way, all those rock features, the water features, the fire features, the landscaping that brings it all together. They have been there for decades, and if you heard Madonna Livingston's story, you would say, I want to give her my business. The resilience of what that woman's gone through from losing 2 sons. If you haven't heard the story, please do so. Look back. Those are the beautiful things about all of our 350 plus shows we've done, that you can go back and watch any of those. Again, I want to bring the stories to life so that you support the businesses. The Pool and Spa Specialists, they are Just Pools at 3987 West Outer Road. And by the way, right now, 10% off of chemicals, 30% off all those toys that your kids want. Arnold, Missouri, 636-464-7110. Madonna, thank you for being a part of the sponsorship of The Real Monica Adams Show. It is 8 o'clock on the nose. We're going to go a little beyond that today because, again, we're talking about such powerful topics in this hour. Susan Colangelo, Branden Lewis, my guest from St. Louis Story Stitchers, and the talent that you kids have, it blows my mind. So there are multiple levels, Branden. We're talking about learning how to mix music, rapping, graffiti, so many levels, dancing, etc. How many kids total are there involved in the St. Louis Story Stitchers?
Goodness. That's always a hard question to answer.
115 right now.
115?
Mm-hmm.
So why did you say it's hard?
Because so
you get spreadsheets and different levels of registration and stuff.
Because it keeps growing and growing.
Yeah, it's around 115 right now. We'd like to get to 250 in a year eventually.
And that's the thing that I loved about being able to bring them on today is the awareness that this exists, that many people maybe wouldn't know about it. So, Branden, being a part of it, what would you tell those that are watching live or get a chance to have this shared from all of you later? What's your proudest part about being involved in St. Louis Story Stitchers?
Sheesh. So my absolute favorite part, my absolute proudest part of Story Stitchers is with St. Louis being such an artistic city and so much of our youth being artistic. It's literally not only a free but a safe space where artists can come and hone their crafts and really grow in their artistry. Thanks to Story Stitchers, I've done over 500 performances. Wow. I've touched stages that I never expected to touch or had no idea how I would even go about facilitating a performance like that. I've gotten so many skills from Story Stitchers, and I get to watch artists that came in after me grow in the ways that people described my growth as I was coming into Story Stitchers. And it's really moving to see it from a different perspective, to see it from now being the mentoring younger artists versus being the younger artist that's being mentored. So now, having been on both sides, right. I have a new appreciation for it and another level of proudness.
And so from a age standpoint, to be involved in the organization, what is the age?
16 to 25-year-olds.
And I remember a story in one of the videos where, who was the kid that...
Zach.
Yes. So he was, 14 at the time?
Zach, we met Zach when he was 11.
Or low,
he
even
was
younger.
Young, yeah.
Yes.
And he wanted to be a part of it.
He did an open mic, and he sang a song for 4 minutes. And we were just, blown away from him. It's even still on my phone. Because I videotaped it. I'm always videotaping.
And then he kept following, and he was so happy to see that St. Louis Story Stitchers was still around. And then came back and was like, "Hey, by the way, it's me."
Right,
and he just performed
and you're old enough
with us last week. Yeah,
yes, he did.
He just turned 18.
Did a great job too.
When he's 16, he came and said, "I'm 16 now." We were like, "Who are you?" He said, "I'm that kid." I was like, "Oh yeah, I remember you."
You definitely need to be a part of this. So, learning all these skills. I know that there are people that you probably are like, "Oh, I emulate that. I love this person. I love this." But how do you ever even get to know how to do all of this? Where's that education coming from?
So there are several answers. So our engineers, our leading audio teachers, came from Extreme Institute, which was by Vatterite. A lot of people knew it as the Nelly School.
Oh, yeah.
Almost every engineer we've had came out of that school, and they kind of bring each other in. So when one of them has to move on to another job, they recommend someone else that was at the school, and that's how we kind of built out the audio program. And then there are other artists like myself who went to Central Visual and Performing Arts and had just kind of been around arts for most of our lives or whatnot. So one of the greatest things about Story Stitchers is that it's a place where we all learn from each other. And so even though I'm technically a staff member, one of our lead audio guys mentors me on engineering.
Okay.
And so he's been doing that for about 2 years. And so even though I'm not technically a youth in Story Stitches, I'm still learning how to engineer. So we're all kind of learning from each other. We have guitarists that teach others how to play guitar. We have pianists that teach others how to play piano. And it's like a melting pot of just artistic knowledge.
Yeah, they're crazy talented. I want you to go to their website again to follow them on this and to help further get the word out there. You were just mentioning for the celebration that you have coming up on August 9th and August 10th. There's their website, by the way, storystitchers.com, and the phone number. Spread that along.
Storystitchers.org.
Oh, sorry. So it's .org. Storystitchers.org. Zach, go ahead and take the storystitchers.org. Follow that and then spread the word that this exists and that you can get more people involved in that. You were just mentioning that you need some speakers for the weekend of August 9th and 10th on August 10th?
Well, August 9th, we're doing the Youth Empowerment Summit.
Right.
So we're looking for, we think we have a graffiti artist. We're looking for some really high-quality dancers that are kind of break dancing, grump dancing. I mean, we have some lined up, but we can always have a few more. And
Come on,
then for
Brandon,
August
let's
10th,
do the
we're
wave.
looking for
Hang on, get Brandon and I both on the screen.
I am not a dancer.
No, just do this for me. Just do that for me.
Okay.
Ready?
Yeah, you want to start it?
This
or
one,
you want me to
yeah.
start
Okay,
it?
here we go. Like this? Oh, she's going to take it. There we go. See what happens when we work as a team.
Yeah, definitely.
So let me just say one thing, though, because I want to make sure your viewers understand exactly what we're doing. We're part of a creative youth development network across the country that's being built by the Lewis Prize Foundation and other foundations. Kranzberg Arts Foundation here in St. Louis as well is supportive of that. So it's helping young people to lift off into adulthood through the arts.
Right.
Everyone knows, if you think about when you were 16 to 20, what was your favorite art form?
Singing.
Yeah,
and dancing.
Music usually. Yeah, and music and dance. That's right. So this is how we draw in young people, whether they are right now in trouble, committing crimes, homeless, have been shot or suffering from violence of some kind and traumatized. They can come to Story Stitchers and find a place alongside WashU students, Harris Stowe students, other young adults that aren't struggling with some of those things. And together, we work in a collaborative studio to make artwork that is focused on the themes that these young people are wanting to work on.
Right.
And then we are pushing that out in a curated art, doesn't look like high school art, because they're working alongside master storyteller Bobby Norfolk or, really serious professional artists. And so that is how the final product of Story Stitchers comes about. And that is why Story Stitchers are beloved. And when you see them for the first time, you become a fan.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I want you to go to the website. I want you to follow them and see just the creative art that's coming out of this organization, out of this building, and where their growth is. So if somebody wants to continue to support what you're doing, what's the greatest way for that?
Go to storystitchers.org and click donate. That we would love that.
I want you to help further what they're doing here. So continue to do the amazing work that you are. I appreciate greatly that you got up early for me.
Oh, of course.
And I love what you're doing. Your podcast studio looks beautiful, by the way.
Thank you.
Yes, I love what they've done in the building, but as we said, it's still new and it's still growing from there. They've got so much to do. Grandel Square, 3701 Grandel Square, storystitchers.org, and they have so much to do. But I'm going to give Brandon the opportunity to say the final thing, and that is, we're talking about hope. We're talking about your brothers and sisters in your age and even younger being able to say, look at how we cleaned up our streets, look at how we took them off the streets and gave them hope, kind of gave them a journey to start the journey of where they're going in life. That's what this story really needs to be about.
Yes, I would
That's
agree
right.
100%. Story Stitches definitely exists to breathe life into the inner city, and it's very moving. We have some youth that literally come to us like, this place saved my life, and that's you can't put a price on that. You can't put a price on that, and I would take that over the performances. Make no mistake about it. I love performing. I love the art, but the effect that it has on youth and giving them life skills and giving them purpose and giving them self-confidence, you'd be surprised at how much violence happens because people lack the skills to express themselves in a healthy way. As story stitchers, we believe that artistic expression is not only healthy but therapeutic. And so something as simple as a podcast can give a youth the confidence to speak their mind and to speak their opinions and to make sure that they're heard, and things like that are priceless, and that's what we do as Story Stitchers. So like we said earlier, we serve youth between the ages of 16 to 25. It's absolutely free to register. It's completely free to sign up. If they're artistic and they're in between the age, or even if they're not artistic and they just want a safe place to be a part of, or they want to learn how organizations work or things like that, we welcome those youth as well. So if they're in between the ages of 16 to 25, we'd absolutely love to see them.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, some people might be scared, or they have this, we've seen it so many times. There's story upon story of this beautiful art that existed in someone, but they were never given the voice. They were never given permission to let it out of them. So maybe they just come around and they observe, and then suddenly they let it out. And you think, oh my gosh,
100%.
here it is, Rosketchel.
does
Here it
happen.
is, right? It's been waiting in there all along, and you just needed
Yeah.
someone to give you the chance to have your voice, to find your voice.
100%, and we just tell you that it's a safe space. We don't force you to hop in the booth. We don't force you to step up to a microphone. We nurture it, and whenever you're ready to express yourself, we're here to listen, and we're here to document that story if you'd like it to be documented. There's no force, only nurturing, and we're here when you're ready.
That's it. We all need to just support each other,
Yes.
lift each other up, and never force it upon someone. Let it be brought out.
Absolutely.
That's where the beauty takes place.
Absolutely.
I love what you're doing. I'm so excited. Again, storystitchers.org. Susan, Brandon, thank you again for coming in.
Thank you
so much.
Greatly
Monica.
appreciate it.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
we always wrap up with our 100 Days to Freedom. There are so many messages in today's show, from fear and anxiety to depression to anger, right? All these things that we're trying to find hope from. I'm feeling the yellow book. That's how we're going to wrap up. Our final devotion, 100 Days to Freedom, when we return.
She's a special woman and done so much for St. Louis.
Watching her work is one of the most incredible things you can see.
She just sees value in everyone.
Sometimes people just need you to sit with them and hear them. I feel heard.
The time flew by, and it was like sitting and talking to a friend.
Not only creating a better place here in St. Louis, but to inspire others. It's always great to have examples like you.
You have such a light and such a presence, and I could feel it this morning.
We knew right away when you started this, we wanted to be on your show. Thanks for having us.
I look forward to seeing how you rock and roll and shake it up.
Welcome back, 8:12. Told you it was going to be a great hour, did I not? And Kathy just really summed it up. She said St. Louis has produced so many talented artists in many areas. Celebrate our area's assets. Thank you to both. How refreshing, taking our youth out of the dangerous activities that we hear many young people being exposed to daily. This is from Maryland. So excited you both are making a difference in youth lives, our future leaders to our area. Thank you for your vision and for carrying it out. Yes, love it, love it, love it, love it. That's why I like being live, so we can look at some of your comments. Again, go to storystitchers.org to donate, to help them further the mission of what they're involved in. It's been a powerful hour, and we'll look at your questions and your comments. Make sure that all of my guests had a chance to see. Earlier, Emily Church said, thank you for sharing your story to Amy and to stay positive. I mean, again, she has to, with everything that she's gone through. Faith over fear. Thanks for sharing your story. So powerful, Kathy had said. Marilyn said, so sad, yet so empowering. Did you ever consider leaving that hospital? You got to read the book. I'm going to make you read the book for that. There's so much I didn't give you in her book. Again, if you haven't read it yet, Out of the Gray, Into the Light, available wherever you get your books, and soon in bookstores. She'll be doing her book signings. So I think fear and anxiety was a natural that I could have picked, but shame, because the day that I told you she was racing on the highway almost 98 miles per hour, I bet you she had shame in her. Shame from others saying, shame on our city, shame on our youth, right? All those things. This one was picked from God right now. Permissible versus beneficial. You say, and I quote, I'm allowed to do anything, but not everything is beneficial. This is 1 Corinthians 10, verse 23. You know, back in 2019, 25.8% of people 18 and older admitted they had engaged in binge drinking, according to the National Institute on Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism. Binge drinking defined as consuming large amounts of alcohol in a short period, usually 5 drinks in a 2-hour period for a man, 4 drinks in a 2-hour period for a woman. It's dangerous for more reasons than can be listed, but a couple are worth noting. First, it severely affects your judgment and reflexes, making it likely that you'll do something to endanger yourself or others, or at the very least, embarrass yourself. Second, regular binge drinking adversely affects virtually all your vital organs, making it likely that you will develop severe health problems. It's really interesting that God chose this one today, because in the news on CBS this morning, I heard about what effects the blackout stage has on your brain and has on long-term organs. So it's ironic that we're doing this today. However, binge drinking is not illegal. It's often called partying by people who do it regularly, and it is particularly popular among college students. Generally, it's not the illegal things that we do that ruin our lives. It's the permissible things that are counterproductive to our happiness. And this is just one example we're giving you. There are countless others, such as flirting with a married coworker, working 60 hours a week, overeating. All of these actions are permissible, but none of them are beneficial. Maybe the shame you're battling right now doesn't stem from an illegal act. Maybe you did something that's acceptable in our culture. Let this be a teaching moment. Doing what's permissible might make you popular, but a higher standard is needed if you really want to be happy. Daniel Fusco said, cultural permissibility has never been the benchmark for God's vision for a beautiful life. You were never meant to be common. And I leave you with this prayer. Gracious Father, give me a passion, not for the permissible, but for the righteous. In this fallen world, help me to be more concerned about standing out than fitting in. And that's the message we leave for you today. I hope you enjoyed the show, and if you did, I ask you to share and share and share. Like the branches of a tree, it just keeps growing and growing. Our growth in the last year has been mind-blowing to me. Since I walked away from the news, we have doubled the following that I had. And that speaks volumes. If people don't want to hear about the negative things in the world, they want to know that there's hope and there's light. And when I ask you to go out and be anything you want to be in the world, believe in yourself, find your voice, grab the reins and go at it. But before you're anything, be kind. God bless you all. Have a beautiful day.